In front of others, Elijah and I were childhood best friends who grew up together. But in private, we were inseparable lovers. We had originally agreed to get married once one of us presented as an alpha and the other as an omega. Instead, we both presented as S-class alphas. Neither of us ever said the word breakup. It was just that when he got out of bed and dressed in the morning, he no longer leaned down to kiss my forehead, and I no longer tugged at his sleeve to stop him from leaving. Our ending was already sealed in silence. Chapter 1. Our friends all thought we, the ironclad bros, just had a falling out. They constantly organized get-togethers trying to patch things up between us. After all, we grew up running around together in our bare bottoms. No one wanted to see us turn against each other. Albert and Brant meant well, but they didn't know we weren't just throwing a tantrum. We had truly broken up. We sat at diagonally opposite corners of the private room, keeping the maximum possible distance between us. In the past, even sitting right next to each other didn't feel close enough. Under the dim lights, Elijah's features looked exceptionally calm. He looked at me. The moment our eyes met, my heart fluttered, and the pain of our breakup felt as fresh as if it had just happened. I started feeling irritable. I didn't want to see him. A wound that is repeatedly torn open will never heal. I deliberately slammed my glass down heavily and glared at him. He always understood me so well. He knew exactly what I meant with just one look. He spoke first, a hint of anger in his voice. "What kind of attitude is that?" I picked up a bottle of alcohol and smashed it directly onto the floor. "This is my attitude. I'm sick of looking at you." Our tempers flared instantly. I closed the distance in a few strides and grabbed him by the collar. I threw a punch right at that overly handsome face. He didn't hold back either. We didn't use pheromones. It was purely a physical brawl. Albert and Brant were stunned for a second before Brant yelled, "Pull them apart, hurry!" It took a whole group of people scrambling to finally separate us from our fierce scuffle. I gritted my teeth and spat viciously. "Elijah, we are completely done. From now on, if I'm somewhere, you'd better stay away." He looked at me coldly. "I'm returning those exact words right back to you. We used the most direct method to convey the exact same message. Stop trying to be peacemakers. We are truly over." After the farce ended, I walked down to the underground parking garage. Elijah was leaning against a car waiting for me. His tall, slender figure leaned slightly forward, his black hair covering his eyes, hiding his emotions. Seeing me approach, he tossed an ice pack at me. I raised my hand and caught it, pressing it against my face. The freezing sensation made me wince and bare my teeth. A fleeting smile flashed through Elijah's eyes. "Couldn't you hit a little lighter?" I complained. "That guy Alan is too sharp. He wouldn't have believed it if I went easy." I glanced at his equally bruised face and couldn't help but laugh out loud. I waved at him. "All right, I'm taking off." He watched me open the car door and get in, only replying with a simple, I thought for a moment, then rolled down the window. "I doubt anyone will secretly arrange for us to meet up anymore." "Ma'am." Seeing him so sparing with his words made me a little angry. I wanted to lose my temper, but then I realized I no longer had the right to. In the past, I could throw a fit over a flat soda, argue with him over losing a video game, or vent my frustration on him after a nightmare. I was so righteous about it, so free to do whatever I wanted. And he would always indulge me with a helpless smile. Those beautiful moments were so clear they felt like yesterday. Fighting the ache in my chest, I looked at Elijah. He was looking down at me too, the longing in his eyes condensing into a misty haze. Suddenly, I felt like crying. I quickly rolled up the window, not forgetting to toss the ice pack back at him before leaving. His eyelashes fluttered, and a bitter smile tugged at the corners of his lips as he called me out. "Still so childish." In the rearview mirror, he stood frozen in place, watching the direction I drove off in, his silhouette looking so incredibly lonely. I pulled my gaze away, suddenly wanting desperately to go back. Those hands, I had once held them tightly. Those lips, I had once kissed them deeply. That person, I had once owned him completely. Why couldn't we be together now? We were supposed to hold hands on the way home and complain about work troubles under the covers. We were supposed to discuss where to travel for the holidays. But a voice at the bottom of my heart told me, it's impossible now. I couldn't be selfish anymore. Actually, we both sensed it early on, that we might both present as S-class alphas, destined to become the heirs of our respective families. Then, we'd marry a well-matched S-class omega to bear strong, perfect next-generation heirs for our families. The childhood promise to marry whichever one of us presented as an omega was nothing but a frivolous, beautiful dream. When we woke from that dream, all that sweetness and happiness had to be paid back with 10 100 times the pain and reluctance. We wouldn't meet in private anymore. But our elders clearly didn't know about the entanglement between us. Our two families had always maintained a good relationship, so social interactions were inevitable. My parents took me to a banquet. Aside from the Brown family, the Johnson family was also there. As soon as I walked in, I saw two people sitting together. One was Elijah, whom I couldn't be more familiar with. The other was Jeffrey. I noticed the pheromone patch on the back of his neck. He was an S-Class Omega who lived abroad all year round. Otherwise, he would have been one of our childhood friends too. The atmosphere at the banquet was pleasant. The elders were chatting about the stock market and banking policies. Jeffrey's father smiled and said, "Jeffrey is 2 years younger than Elijah. He should call you older brother. You two should get along well." He then added, "You're both at the right age too." Jeffrey looked up. He was quite handsome. He turned to Elijah and called out, "Brother Elijah." Elijah replied, "I just got back to the country and don't know any fun places. If Brother Elijah is free, could you show me around?" "Sure." The elders of the Brown and Johnson families exchanged knowing smiles. This was nothing but a disguised matchmaking session. Dragging our family along as company was just to make it less obvious. People like them never ate meaningless meals or spoke meaningless words. I set my chopsticks down on my bone plate, making a soft clinking sound. When I looked up, I met Elijah's gaze perfectly. My chest felt blocked, an indescribable suffocation. I pursed my lips and said, "I'm going to the restroom." My mother nodded. Right before the door closed behind me, I heard Elijah's mother say, "The two kids look like a great match." A great match? Just because one is an alpha and the other is an omega? I splashed cold water on my face at the sink, trying to suppress the emotions bubbling up. There was nothing to be upset about. This was bound to happen sooner or later, for him and for me. I steadied myself and turned around, only to find Elijah leaning against the wall. He lit a cigarette, took a drag, and handed it to me. I took a drag right from his hand. He had changed brands. It smelled like agarwood, the exact same scent as my pheromones. Through the smoke, he paused slightly, his fingertips brushing against my face. "Were you crying?" I wiped my face. "I just washed it." Then, forcing a relaxed tone, I said, "Congratulations. Looks like good things are on the horizon. Given our relationship, I'll definitely give you a huge red envelope." His expression instantly turned freezing cold. "Is that really what you think?" I deliberately ignored the loneliness in his tone. "Of course. When I get married, you'll have to give me." Before I could finish, he sealed my lips. An urgent, domineering kiss. My subconscious instinct was to wrap my arms around his neck, but my hands stopped halfway. He pinched my chin, forcing me to open my mouth, his tongue invading ruthlessly, carrying an overwhelming longing and bitterness. My nose stung, and I almost burst into tears. In the end, I still pushed him away. I had intended to make a joke about not sexually harassing his ex-boyfriend anymore, but seeing his bloodshot eyes, the words caught in my throat. He used the pad of his thumb to wipe the moisture from the corner of my lips. "Mars, do you know how long it's been since we last saw each other?" I thought about it. 2 months. 46 days, he said. We broke our record. We had never gone this long without seeing each other. Thinking about the fact that there will be many more of these 46 days in the future. "Mars, I feel like I'm going to go crazy." He hugged me tightly, as if trying to crush me into his very bones and blood. "Tell me, would it be easier to just die?" I forced my eyes wide open to keep the tears from falling. This Elijah felt so unfamiliar. He had always been calm, self-restrained, and unhurried. Why did he now seem so fragile, like he would shatter at the slightest touch? Couldn't help but sigh. It turned out that our belief that not seeing each other would make things better, it was all a lie. Chapter 2. In the car heading home, my parents were discussing Jeffrey and Elijah. My mother said, "It looks like good things are approaching for the Johnson and Brown families." My father, however, said, "Not necessarily. S-Class Omegas aren't too rare, and there are many with better conditions than the Johnsons. Elijah is an S-Class Alpha, as rare as phoenix feathers or unicorn horns. The Brown family will probably still shop around." My mother looked at me, her eyes filled with pride. After all, in this world where pheromone rankings are supreme, S-Class Alphas possess unparalleled advantages. Strong and superior, only people like this can secure the majority of resources, stand at the top of the pyramid, and maintain their family's prominence. She watched me for a moment and suddenly asked, "Are you feeling unwell? Why have you been so listless today?" What if I don't get married? Before I could finish, my mother's face changed, and she instinctively looked at my father. My father's face also darkened. What nonsense are you talking about? If you don't marry, are you going to let an illegitimate child inherit the family? No, I won't have children either. The atmosphere in the car seemed to freeze, and the driver broke into a cold sweat. I smelled a hint of restless pheromones coming from my father. Mars, you're not a child anymore. You should know your responsibilities. If the family doesn't have an S-class alpha heir, it will eventually be encroached upon and divided up. You know this very well, so don't say such things again. What if the child I have isn't S-class either? Then keep having them. 10, 20 until one is born. Do you think you'll lack omegas willing to bear your children? But what if I don't love them? Love is the least important thing. I gave in mum and closed my eyes. My mind was a blank canvas. Duty, family prominence, legacy, are they really more important than Elijah? A voice inside me objected, only to be roughly suppressed. Love is clearly the most important thing. Rumors about Elijah and Jeffrey began to spread. It was obvious this was the Johnson family's doing, wanting to use public opinion to draw the two closer and hopefully lock things down immediately. But seeing the photos of Elijah standing with his hands in his pockets, looking indifferent next to Jeffrey, who was smiling warmly and brightly, I still couldn't help but feel awful. I downed the alcohol in my glass in one gulp. Alan slung an arm around my shoulder. A shrewd light flashed in his peach blossom eyes. People like us are born into wealth and privilege, lacking nothing. But life is about give and take. If you gain so much, you have to trade something for it. For example, love. So, for things that are destined, don't get too trapped by love. I turned to look at him, and with one glance I understood. When did you know? I've known for a long time. You guys only managed to fool that dense kid Brant. I sighed, the alcohol making my brain spin a little slow. I see. Perhaps thinking I was too depressed, he changed the subject. I just wonder what other tricks the Johnson family hasn't used yet, considering how desperate they are. Alan's question was soon answered. The housekeeper at Elijah's place called. I hesitated for a moment but answered it. A panicked voice came from the other end. Young Master Mars, please come over to the young master's house right away. Her voice was so agitated that I instinctively stood up and grabbed my coat. What happened to Elijah? I don't know what's going on with the young master, but his susceptible period arrived early. Only then did I understand why she was so terrified. S-class alphas have a hard time controlling their pheromones during their susceptible period, rut, and exhibit intense aggression. As the apex predators of pheromones, they have almost no rivals. That's why we usually prepare a safe house to get through it. Alphas with omegas will spend it with their partners. Those are 7 blissful, maddening days. I'm coming right now. The nanny continued. Young Master Jeffrey went in just now, but my footsteps suddenly halted. My chest felt like it had been smashed by a boulder, and my strength instantly vanished. Jeffrey went in. He could release pheromones to soothe Elijah. An alpha in their susceptible period is a beast almost entirely driven by desire. He might even get Elijah's mark. That mark, symbolizing love, loyalty, possession, and exclusivity, even if temporary, is something everyone dreams of. It all made perfect sense. An alpha needs an omega. So what business did I have being there? I gave a bitter smile. His going in should be enough. I won't go. My heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife. This day had finally come. No, young Master Mars, the nanny cried out. After he went in, I don't know what happened, but he started screaming for help. There was also the sound of things shattering inside. None of us dare to get close. Please hurry over and take a look. I frowned and headed straight to the underground garage to get my car. There is a situation where an alpha refuses a specific omega's pheromone soothing and will continue to attack, potentially maiming or even killing the other person. After all, the disparity in their strength is massive. I rushed over to Elijah's house. The nanny and butler were watching anxiously outside the villa. Seeing me arrive, they hastily urged me to go inside. Walking into the villa, the scent of rosewood pheromones drifted into my nose, carrying a formidable aggression and a rioting lust. If a mere A-class alpha had walked in, they probably would have fallen to their knees on the spot. I endured the discomfort and walked into Elijah's room. It was a complete mess inside, with glass shards and various furnishings scattered all over the floor. Elijah was lying on the carpet, in a highly unstable state, trembling slightly with a deep frown. His fingers clawed at the carpet, veins bulging. Jeffrey was curled up behind the door, having already lost the ability to move. Beside him was a puddle of vomit mixed with blood flowing from his arm. A muddy, wretched mess. He was still conscious, his beautiful face filled with terror. The room was saturated with the intertwined scents of Jeffrey's orchid pheromones and Elijah's rosewood pheromones. And S-class Omega's pheromones are incredibly seductive. Even I felt a wave of heat. I loosened my tie and picked Jeffrey up. I had to get him to a safe place first. Just as I scooped him up and turned to leave, I felt someone grab my ankle. Elijah's voice was hoarse and broken. "Mars, don't leave. Don't leave." I gritted my teeth, feeling like I was about to lose control myself. "Let go of me first. I need to get him out. Don't leave." His pheromones rioted even more, attacking me indiscriminately. The hand gripping my ankle felt like iron pincers. "I'll be right back." "No, don't leave. I'm begging you, please." He was so fragile and pitiful. I gritted my teeth, forcefully kicked him off, and as I turned to exit the room, I saw his bloodshot eyes staring stubbornly at me. He looked as if he had been abandoned by the whole world, pain and sorrow crawling all over his eyeballs. "Mars!" His overwhelmed, agonizing shout echoed from inside the room. My heart trembled, and ignoring the intense discomfort of being attacked by his pheromones, I carried Jeffrey and ran downstairs. In my arms, Jeffrey blinked his long eyelashes, silently watching me. The orchid scent was still strong. I frowned. "Rein it in." He pursed his lips and smiled. "Are you reacting? You're releasing so many pheromones. How could I not? Actually, I like you better, but my family said you're harder to approach." I looked at him in shock. He still had the mood to flirt at a time like this? Looking closer, his face was pale. The mental assault of the pheromones definitely wasn't pleasant. "Did you come specifically to save me?" I didn't have time to waste breath on him. He looked like he was about to pass out anyway. I carried him to a safe place, handed him to the nanny and said, "Call Alan. He'll handle the arrangements. Remember, keep what happened today a secret." The nanny nodded hurriedly. I stood up and noticed Jeffrey was still gripping a corner of my clothes. Just as I was about to pull it free, he let go himself and passed out. Chapter 3. I hurriedly returned to the room. As soon as I entered, Elijah snapped his head up. Through the haze of his consciousness, joy and grievance surged up simultaneously. I released my pheromones, and the scent of agarwood quickly merged with the rosewood. An alpha's pheromones have almost no soothing effect on another alpha. At best, they just don't repel each other. Smelling this scent, Elijah suddenly reached out and pulled me down onto the carpet. His skin was frighteningly hot. Before I could even speak, an overwhelming barrage of kisses rained down on me. Urgent, passionate, and rough. A scorching heat began to surge toward my lower abdomen. Elijah hooked the tip of my tongue, kissing and sucking with no rhyme or reason, his hands impatiently tearing at my clothes. He seemed conscious, yet at the same time not. With a voice thick with lust, he called my name, "Mars." I felt an inexplicable wave of sadness. It's me. Give it to me." He bit at my neck, poised and ready to strike. We knew each other's bodies intimately, easily finding the most absolute, ultimate pleasure. He grabbed my ankles, leaving a ring of bruises. The air was saturated with the heavy scent of love and lust. It was a dizzying, intoxicating haze of seamless union. I don't know how I survived those 7 days. When I finally sobered up, I was thankful I was an alpha with a physical constitution far surpassing ordinary people. Otherwise, I really would have died in that bed. I got out of bed and stood in front of the bathroom mirror, realizing there wasn't a single good spot left on my body. Teeth marks, hickeys, and bruises were all testaments to the madness of the past 7 days. As I stood there dazed, Elijah pushed the door open and came in. Our eyes met, and he hugged me from behind. "Are you uncomfortable?" "Uncomfortable as hell." "I'm okay." The tip of his nose brushed against my neck, taking a light sniff. "I didn't think you would come." "If I didn't come, was I supposed to just watch you kill someone?" He lowered his eyes and hugged me tightly. After a while, I pushed him gently. "Let go. I have to leave." "Tell me, is the choice we made really the right one?" he asked suddenly. I looked up at his reflection in the mirror and saw the exact same question that was in my own mind. "I used to always think we would be together forever. I never even imagined a future without you. But now, having to separate because of family responsibilities, Mars, I'd rather just be an ordinary Omega. Why do we always think the exact same way?" I forced a smile. "If you were an Omega, would you let me top you?" "As long as we could be together, anything is fine." I struggled. "I have to go." If I didn't leave now, I really wouldn't be able to. I wanted to stay far too much. He let go, a flash of pain in his eyes. Mars, can we really let each other go? I don't know, but a voice at the bottom of my heart was screaming. We can't. The other person had long since been sewn into my very soul, becoming an inseparable part of me. Every fragmented memory carried his shadow. Unless my skin was flayed and my bones scraped clean, it would be impossible to forget. Because I had been exposed to too many pheromones those days, my susceptible period arrived early. Unlike Elijah's sudden onset, I felt the warning signs in advance. After having the nanny pack my things, I headed to the safe house alone. Seeing the separate suitcase by my feet, the nanny couldn't help but ask, "Young master, what is this?" "It's nothing." I carried the suitcase downstairs myself. A susceptible period is agonizing to get through, especially one without an omega to soothe you. Destructive urges and lust surged up together, and the pheromones inside my body rioted uncontrollably. I frantically opened that suitcase and pulled out clothes tainted with Elijah's scent. I moved all of them onto the bed, letting his clothes surround me, completely drowning me. This was the only way to alleviate my restlessness. The scent of rosewood was heavy and bitter. I tightened my arms forcefully, but I only ended up hugging thin pieces of fabric. In that moment, I zoned out, an inexplicable sense of grievance welling up in my heart. What I'm hugging is supposed to be a warm, living Elijah. I cursed him for being a bastard, for tossing me around to his heart's content during his susceptible period, only to leave me suffering here all alone now. After cursing him, I felt I was being unreasonable again. He didn't even know my susceptible period had arrived. Hugging the clothes and staring at the ceiling, I suddenly burst into tears. "Elijah, it's so hard to bear. I miss you a little bit. Do you know that? It was the most painful susceptible period of my life. But the pain didn't end there. After my susceptible period passed, I received news of Elijah and Jeffrey's marriage. They were getting engaged. When the cleaning lady came in, she was met with my completely trashed office. The shattered porcelain and computer monitor were testaments to the rage I had just unleashed. I sat exhaustedly in the CEO's chair. Blood from my arm dripped down my fingers, soaking into the dark carpet. The cleaning lady called out to me cautiously, "Sir, don't speak." She hastily lowered her head and started cleaning up. Just as she was finishing, someone else pushed the door open and walked in. I smelled the scent of orchid pheromones. Jeffrey walked up to me, his beautiful brows furrowing. "Your hand. Do you need something? I came to thank you for saving me last time." I gave an and continued staring blankly out the window. You must be confused as to why Elijah suddenly went into his susceptible period, right? My parents did it. They wanted me to take advantage of Elijah's susceptible period to get his mark. I turned my head to look at him. He gave a bitter smile, his face pale. But as you saw, he was extremely repulsed by me. I've always known I was just a tool for a political marriage, but at that moment, I truly felt so incredibly cheap. Even so, I still don't have a choice. Who marks me, who I marry, I don't have a choice in any of it. Actually, compared to him, I like you better. Those words weren't unfamiliar to me. He had said them once before. I wasn't in the mood to comfort him, because he wasn't the only one who didn't have a choice. The noblest of genes were also the most impenetrable of cages. Their engagement party was held on schedule. The media, carrying their long lenses and heavy equipment, surrounded the villa so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. The political and business elites attending the banquet were all high-profile enough that a photo of any single one of them would be enough to make the news. The halo of light cascading from the massive crystal chandelier looked like a layer of gold foil, enveloping this true Vanity Fair. Elijah hadn't arrived yet. Jeffrey, dressed in a white haute couture suit, was surrounded by a crowd. He was usually adept at socializing, but today he seemed a bit distracted. His father shot him a dissatisfied glare, and he immediately plastered on a perfect smile. Everyone maintained proper social etiquette, with pheromone patches affixed to the back of their necks. In a setting like this with so many alphas and omegas, chaotic pheromones could easily cause a riot, so everyone was very careful. I was looking toward the door, waiting for Elijah, when suddenly, a trace of orchid scent drifted into my nose. I instinctively looked toward Jeffrey. With the sound of a shattering wine glass, the orchid scent grew overwhelmingly intense. It carried the heavy implication of lust and seduction. I felt the blood flow in my veins accelerate rapidly. Jeffrey's pale skin flushed a sheer pink, and he curled in on himself uncomfortably. He had gone into heat. If one were to encounter their heat during an occasion like this, they would take suppressants in advance. A mistake like this would absolutely never happen. Jeffrey's voice became incredibly alluring. There's something wrong with the wine. Chapter 4. The scene began to erupt into chaos. An S-Class Omega's heat pheromones are absolutely the most potent aphrodisiac in the world. Last time, when his pheromones were mixed with Elijah's, even I had barely managed to resist. Ordinary alphas wouldn't stand a chance. I exchanged a glance with Alan in the distance. He nodded at me. While I was still clear-headed, I rushed over, scooped Jeffrey up, and carried him away from the scene, heading to a room on the second floor. With so many media outlets watching outside the villa, we absolutely could not allow any scandal to happen here. I threw him onto the bed. The scent of orchids continuously drilled into my nasal cavity, turning my brain foggy. It stimulated my eyes until they were bloodshot. Jeffrey writhed uncomfortably on the bed, reaching out to grab my arm. Mars! A sweet, soft, overwhelmingly seductive call. Anger flared inside me. I pinned him down with a backhand. Is this your way of rebelling against the Johnson family? He smiled at me, his bangs damp with sweat. That's right. Do you want me to stop? You know there's only one way. Marking. Do you have any idea how chaotic it is out there right now? He nodded, rubbing his lower body against me in discomfort. But I merely drank a spiked glass of wine. You can't blame me. You. He suddenly interrupted me. You're hard. Mark me. If you mark me, my engagement with Elijah will be cancelled, and you'll have to take responsibility for me. If you don't mark me, then just watch as tonight turns into an absolute mess. My canines began to itch. That flushed scent gland and his writhing body looked incredibly enticing to my eyes. Can't I just call another alpha to mark you? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, if I, as Elijah's soon-to-be fiancé, get marked by an ordinary alpha, I might as well be dead. The commotion downstairs was growing louder. With a crowd of people staking out the villa outside, Alan's evacuation wouldn't be that fast. Jeffrey's pheromone concentration during his heat was increasing drastically. I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I pinned down his thrashing body. He was already tormented by lust to the point where his pupils were unfocused. My canines approached the back of his neck, and I bit down hard on that patch of soft flesh. Jeffrey let out a cry of pain, followed by a moan of ambiguous meaning. The two pheromones merged together. The sweet, cloying orchid mixed with the scent of agarwood, and everything suddenly fell calm. I tasted blood in my mouth. Before I could fully recover my senses, he reached out to undo my belt. He leaned in for a demanding kiss, which I dodged by turning my head. Taking 2 deep breaths, Alan pushed the door open and ran in. Are you crazy? Everyone would know what happened. The intertwined scent of 2 pheromones meant a mark. It was just a temporary mark. Before I could finish my sentence, I suddenly fell silent. Standing at the bedroom door were Elijah's bloodshot eyes, carrying monstrous rage, carrying a madness that wanted to destroy everything. He charged in abruptly, grabbing me by the collar, his voice sounding as if he were weeping blood. Mars! How dare you mark him? How dare you mark someone else? I stared at him blankly, and a fire ignited in my own heart. Fuck him, he actually had the nerve to interrogate me? I wasn't the one getting engaged today. I threw a backhand punch right into his face. If I didn't mark him, was I supposed to just watch your engagement party turn into an orgy? Mr. Groom, shouldn't you be thanking me? He stumbled back 2 steps, looking at the bloodstains at the corner of my lips, left behind from biting through the scent gland just now. Elijah suddenly exploded. We had never fought with such complete disregard for restraint before. We were evenly matched in strength and struck without holding anything back. Jealousy and anger crawled all over his eyes. The usually calm and steady Elijah was, for the first time, like a wild beast that had lost all reason. We fought from the bedroom out into the hallway. At the top of the second-floor stairs, I kicked him, and before he rolled down, he grabbed my ankle. As we tumbled down into the lobby together, I only felt a burning pain in my back. Before I could even react, he reached out and choked me. We rolled on the floor, hands around each other's throats. The air grew thin. I suddenly felt this was pretty good. I wouldn't have to watch him be with someone else. We might as well just strangle each other to death. He knelt over me, straddling my body, his grip unyielding. Tears fell onto my face. In the stalemate, some elders tried to persuade us. You too. Talk things out properly. You're brothers who grew up together. What Mars did today was just an emergency measure, not an intentional offense against Elijah's fiancée. Elijah, Uncle Hank's authoritative voice rang out, his face looking extremely grim. The parents of the Johnson family looked utterly pale. Jeffrey's father looked at Uncle Hank. Please calm down first. Let's proceed with today's engagement. The engagement party is cancelled. My Brown family will not be cuckolded like this. Uncle Hank was never one to speak such ugly words. It seemed he was truly furious. Cuckolded? I gave a mocking smile. Who exactly was being cuckolded here? The man who had slept with me for years was getting engaged. I was clearly the one being cheated on. Elijah looked at me. In our eyes, only each other remained. Desperate, mad, mixed with immense sorrow and breakdown. Elijah suddenly spoke. Mars, if the next second was the end of the world, what would you do right now? I would kiss you. Elijah loosened his grip, slowly leaned down, and planted a kiss on my lips, as soft as a resting butterfly. Our thoughts are always so aligned. Chapter 5. The scene suddenly fell dead silent. He stood up and reached out his hand to me, and our fingers intertwined once again. The crowd surrounded us like a tidal wave. I heard Alan and Brant loudly curse a few times. I saw the confusion, shock, and gossipy gazes of the people around us. Finally, there was my father's rage and my mother's tears. The end of the world had arrived. But with Elijah by my side, it didn't seem so terrifying. I was locked up by my parents in a facility specifically designed to hold alphas. An ordinary room couldn't contain me at all, and even if my father tried to suppress me with his pheromones now, he might not succeed. The room had 40-centimeter thick steel walls and a specially made door. Other than that, it was completely empty. My mother had come crying to persuade me. Just apologize to your father. You and Elijah. How did things get to this point? I refused. We were competing to see who could hold out longer. Later, they began to compromise. Your father says he won't interfere with you two anymore, but you must produce an heir. Mars, you've been sensible since you were a child, just agree to it. It's just having a child. The claustrophobic space was driving me to the verge of a breakdown. I banged my head against the wall, which I had already dented with my strikes. No, I only want Elijah. My father's cold sneer came through. That boy Elijah has already figured it out. Why are you still so stubbornly obsessed? Hearing Elijah's name, my eyes snapped open, my gaze exceptionally clear. No, he wouldn't agree. You're lying to me. My father didn't speak again. I looked at the faint light seeping in under the door, thinking, soon. They can't lock me up for the rest of my life. I'm only rebelling this once, and I must win. But I didn't expect them to let me out much earlier than anticipated. The moment the heavy door opened, the piercing light made me squint. My father's usually stern face was full of furious disappointment, and he slapped me hard across the face. Look at the disaster you've caused. I froze in place. Before I could even process it, I saw the Brown family's bodyguards standing behind my father. My heart seized, and only one thought remained. Something happened to Elijah. He must have been locked up by his family too. Uncle Hank was even stricter than my parents. He definitely wouldn't hold back on lectures about family duty. Elijah had actually stabbed his own scent gland with a sharpened chopstick. The scent gland is the source of an S-class alpha's power. Once damaged, that gift is lost forever, turning a favored son of heaven into an ordinary person. For a formidable alpha, this was undoubtedly a devastating blow. He asked, if he wasn't an S-class alpha, would he be able to be with you? Uncle Hank told me outside the operating room. Even though he was hurt that badly, he refused to go into the operating room unless you came. I kept my head down, feeling a profound sense of guilt, toward the Brown parents and toward my own. Your parents and I watched you two grow up. Do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears we poured into you? Our entire families were proud of you. Do you two really not care about that at all? These words weighed on me like a massive mountain, leaving me breathless, terrified, and panicked. I looked at the words in surgery, illuminated above the door. Elijah was in there. He had risked absolutely everything, just to beg for a future where we could be together. I raised my head and looked at Uncle Hank. I promise, we will spend our entire lives dedicating ourselves to our families, to make them even more prominent and distinguished. But we cannot leave each other. We cannot abandon the person right in front of us for the sake of something 100 years down the line. Uncle Hank sighed, and my parents looked at me, their faces full of incomprehension. A sudden wave of sorrow washed over me. Aside from being tools to continue your legacy, Uncle, Auntie, Mom, Dad, have you ever loved us simply as your sons? Just as your children, The kind of children you would still love even if we weren't S-class alphas, even if we weren't smart or powerful. We can't repay your grace in the way you expect. If that makes us unworthy to be your children, then I can return everything you've given me right back to you, including the genes you gave me and this life. Just like Elijah did, returning it all to them. The three people across from me froze. My mother's tears suddenly fell, and even my usually cold, hard father fell silent for a moment. My mother rushed up, slapped me, and then hugged me tightly. What nonsense are you talking about? Huh? What nonsense are you saying? Uncle Hank sighed, turning his gaze toward the operating room. The light went out. He immediately rushed over. This man, who wouldn't bat an eye at $100 million contracts or monstrous waves, showed a panicked expression for the very first time. How is my son? The surgery was very successful, but the ultimate degree of recovery for his scent gland will depend on follow-up treatments. His body swayed slightly, and only then did he let out a sigh of relief. I pursed my lips and looked at the operating room, knowing that we had one. Using Elijah's extreme, insane method, I was woken up by Elijah's touch. His prominent knuckles gently brushed across my cheek, the tip of my nose, and my lips. I opened my eyes and saw him smiling at me. I wanted to scold him, but my eyes grew wet first. You absolute madman. Did your head get caught in a door? You. He grabbed my fingertips, kissed them gently, and stared at me intently. It must have hurt a lot. The nerves in the scent gland are so sensitive. Stabbing into it must have been excruciating. He thought for a moment. Actually, it didn't hurt that much. It didn't hurt as much as the moment I saw you marking Jeffrey. He pulled me onto the hospital bed. The bed in the VIP ward was large enough for us to lie down together. We were finally able to embrace each other intimately again, our two hearts beating at the exact same frequency. I'm sorry, I made this decision too late. When I saw you marking Jeffrey, I really was going to go crazy. Before I was about to get engaged, you were in this much pain too, weren't you? I silently played with the ring on his finger. Such a cheap, plain band shouldn't have appeared on people like us. But I clearly remembered, back then we were still young. We passed by someone proposing on the street, and we joined in the cheering, yelling, "Marry him, marry him." After the excitement died down, Elijah suddenly looked up at me, and we instantly understood each other's thoughts. "Marry me," we said in unison. I laughed out loud. Where's the ring? It was already 9:50 p.m., and the mall was about to close. But the impulse of that moment couldn't wait until tomorrow. We ran wildly down the street hand in hand, rushed into a small shop that hadn't closed yet, picked out a pair of rings that fit, and completed the simplest of engagement ceremonies. I had said, "In the future, I will definitely marry you, and you have to give me lots of kids." He laughed, blushing. "Maybe I'll be the one marrying you and you'll give me kids. But either way, it'll be us together, right? Right? We will be together forever." Chapter 6. Thinking about it, I laughed out loud. Elijah looked at my face, then suddenly unclasped the necklace around my neck that held that ring. He slipped the ring onto my finger, our hands intertwining. "Now you can wear it openly." I couldn't help but smile as I looked at him. His eyes, the tip of his nose, his lips. My gaze finally resting on those pale, perfect lips. I don't know who moved first, but by the time I reacted, I was already pinned beneath him. Our lips and tongues tangled as he claimed his territory with intense possessiveness and lust, showing no mercy whatsoever. The hand wearing the ring traced over my chest, my lower abdomen, and all the way down. I hooked my legs around his lean waist, the lust burning me until my mouth went dry. His lips and tongue effortlessly ignited fires all over my body. I couldn't resist threading my fingers into his hair, silently demanding more. His kisses stopped when they reached my lower abdomen. He looked up at me. "Call me Elijah. If you don't call me right, there won't be any more. Hubby." Amidst the intoxicating life and death entanglement, I glanced toward the ward door and thought to myself, locking the door just now was truly the right decision. Elijah's scent gland recovered better than expected. On the day he was discharged, I was driving when Brant's call suddenly came in. I hung up without hesitation. "Why didn't you answer?" Elijah asked. "Do you dare to answer it? We hid this from him for so long. He's definitely calling to interrogate us." Before I could even finish speaking, Brant called again. Elijah gave a helpless smile. "You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever." He answered the phone, and Brant's sarcastic voice immediately came through. "Oh, the young master is finally willing to pick up the phone? It's me, Elijah answered calmly. Ah, young Master Elijah is there too. Brant's tone grew even more mocking. All right, it's our fault. We will definitely make it up to you another day. Elijah hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Brant scoffed. What, another day? Today. See you at the usual place. When we arrived at the agreed spot, Alan was already there, arms crossed, watching us as if waiting for a good show. We surrounded Brant, coaxing and apologizing for a good while before his expression finally softened. He gave me a shove. Brothers for over 20 years, and you guys actually started an underground romance. I rubbed my nose, feeling a bit awkward. Mainly, we were just too embarrassed to say anything. Besides, I jutted my chin toward Alan. Alan knew ages ago, and he didn't tell you either, did he? Brant raised an eyebrow and shot Alan an unfriendly glare. Hey, it wasn't me, Alan hastily tried to explain. Having successfully diverted the attention, Elijah and I exchanged a triumphant glance. After messing around for a bit, the atmosphere gradually settled down. Brant suddenly kicked Elijah. Remember to give me back the wedding gift money I prepared. I definitely will. We already agreed that, Mars, and I won't accept gift money from you guys for our wedding. Alan drained the alcohol in his glass and asked, What about your parents? Barely managed to settle them. We'll just visit less over the next couple of years to avoid making them angry, and let them slowly get used to it. Alan nodded. You two are seriously amazing. Who in our circle doesn't envy that you have true love now? I definitely wouldn't have your kind of courage, anyway. I pursed my lips and secretly squeezed Elijah's hand tighter. When we left, we discovered it had actually started snowing outside. The first snow of the year, and I was watching it with Elijah again. This was already our 20th winter, yet I never felt tired of it. He looked at me and suddenly asked, You said back then you'd give me a huge red envelope for my wedding. How much did you prepare? I thought for a moment and said with a smile, For 160,000. He stepped forward and pulled me into his arms. Let's never break that 46-day record again. Okay? I brushed my lips against his cold cheek. That depends on you. What if young Master Elijah suddenly wants to get married again or something? He reached out and pinched my waist, tickling me so much I flinched. Are you going to say that again? I laughed so hard I couldn't catch my breath, hurriedly shaking my head. I won't say it. I really won't. Amidst our playful teasing, the snow fell heavier and heavier, landing on our heads like a layer of white frost before melting. I reached out and gently stroked his eyes and brows. So gentle, so handsome. Suddenly, a line of poetry came to mind. If we share the falling snow one day, it's as if we've shared a lifetime till our hair turns gray. But he kissed me and corrected it. It's not as if we've shared a lifetime. We will definitely grow old together. I smiled and kissed him back. Okay, together till our hair turns gray. This time, I will never let go of his hand. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.